I'm very tired as a DC fan, but it's my job to tell you about what's going on, so let's get into this. DC, for many, many years, has had problems of stumbling in the darkness or tripping at the finish line, and the Caped Crusader is going to continue that forever. It's like literally watching something horrible happen in front of you, and there's nothing you can do. There are moments of greatness in the Caped Crusader, and there are moments where you're going to want to rip out your eye sockets because it's just so bad. And you can't believe that what you just saw happened. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what it's like to be a DC Comics fan. And because of the NDA, I can't say any more about that except for things that have already been revealed. So let's talk about the elephant in the room that everyone came here to hear about. The Penguin. The Penguin actually has a very great show coming out on HBO Max, and that will star Colin Farrell. But it's not the Penguin we're talking about today. No, 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 no. Now, Penguin has been reinvented many times over the year with great success as a man. Penguin had a 2004 reimagining as a kung fu master who took on Batman with his very interesting gadgets, and I never liked that version of the Penguin, to be honest. In fact, I think every character in the Batman was able to fight Batman like they too had been traveling the world and learned every martial arts known to man. That's one of the drawbacks of the 2004 Batman show. The voice cast was fun, the reimagining of the show was interesting, but the fact that literally everyone was Bruce Lee was very off-putting to me. And I mean everyone. Even the cops could throw down like they were the American Dragon. Okay? So I didn't like that. The Batman Brave and the Bold show brought Penguin back to more of his traditional roots, and he acted similar to Burgess Meredith from the 66 Batman show. And I believe Penguin was also rumored for Beware the Batman, but it never happened. Okay? Now we come full circle to the new Batman Caped Crusader show, where Penguin has been reimagined as a woman in the 1940s, even though she looks like a man, which DC has a problem with female characters in games right now because they really like to make them look very masculine. Now, Penguin, there's no problem if you wanted to make her a girl. There is a problem that you made her very ambiguous, because we know why you did that. It's very obvious, just like what you did to Mr. Freeze and the Suicide Squad. We're not idiots. DC fans are a lot smarter than you give us credit for. The Penguin is voiced by Minnie Driver in the new show, and she is going to come to blows with Batman on occasion. She is basically the big mama that owns all of Gotham in a sense. She has two sons, and she doesn't like her sons. And she's also shown to be very, dangerous. Think, kind of Danny DeVito. And, if you run into her, you're in trouble. The problem is, the way the Penguin looks is an issue. Now, they could have made the Penguin look like the Penguin from the Gotham show, which was a reimagining of the character, instead of having a very big-boned version of the Penguin that was short and kind of pudgy. They went with a thin and lanky guy. Now, what people don't understand, one of my problems that I have with this show, it takes place in the 1940s, where women were very, very self-conscious of how they looked. They did their best to doll themselves up because they did not want to look unattractive. Even in wartime, they did whatever they could without makeup to still make themselves look attractive. Now, it would have been interesting if they went the route of making female Penguin look like the character from Dick Tracy that Madonna played. That would have been interesting. Or you could have taken maybe a Vicky Vale approach or a Veronica approach from the animated series. And you could have used that type of archetype for the Penguin and it would have been interesting. You have this female fatale character. So far, the only female fatale character that's in the show is Catwoman. All the other female characters are just not what the norm of the 1940s was, including the police force, where the women officers all discovered donuts before donuts were a very popular consumption for police officers. But I digress. So the Penguin is ugly, which, that's usually how the Penguin looks, but they could have done something different. The reason why they can't do different things when making characters gender bent is they have to answer to the cult of woke. If they don't, then the religion will kick them out of the herd and they will be shunned. Even though this modern audience doesn't exist, in the mind of these people that are working very diligently on these shows, they do exist. And this phantom that follows them around that they have to appease ends up ruining more products than you can really fathom. Here's the best illustration I can do between the modern audience, which is a lot smaller than you think it is, and the general audience. Let's use an illustration of dinosaurs, because I'm in a Power Rangers mood lately, even though Power Rangers is being auctioned off one by one to some collector when it belongs in a museum like they have in Japan with a Super Sentai museum. We could have a Power Rangers museum like in New York City or maybe somewhere in the country where fans could go, but nope, we're just going to sell them off to private collectors like it never happened. So let's continue with this analogy, shall we? So the general audience is the powerful, strong Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's a very interesting dinosaur that's been around for quite a while. It's seen a lot of things, and it likes certain things very, very much. If you feed it that kind of stuff, it will be your best friend. It's also a ferocious creature if you cross it. That is what a general audience is. Now, the modern audience is a very teeny tiny stegosaurus, a little baby stegosaurus, who's got lots of spikes all around it because they're non-approachable. They're very withdrawn, and they think that they're better than everyone else because they have all these spikes around them and they can tell everyone what to do. In comes Mr. T-Rex and devours the little stegosaurus, even though it has spikes. And this, the Tyrannosaurus, he gets a cut a little bit in his mouth, but it's not really anything major. He just eats it whole and it's gone. And now you're wondering, well, what happened? How did this even happen? Well, I mean, the T-Rex eats meat, and the modern audience is meat, right? So the general audience devours things in such a large consumption that equals billions of dollars in revenue. The modern audience shows up and they try to support movies, but there's not enough of them. They only exist on Twitter, and they only exist when things benefit them. They don't care about supporting products. They don't buy products. Because if they did, ladies and gentlemen, if they really, honest to God, did, then Suicide Squad would have been one of the top-selling games of all time. It wasn't. It was an utter failure. And every game that comes out that is a DEI nonsense would be top sellers. They're not. They're all failures. Concord was destroyed by the recent First Descendant game. Concord did everything that the developers thought that the modern audience wants, modern gamers want, and the game was non-playable. It doesn't matter if the gameplay was good or not. That's besides the point. The game is just atrocious, and no one wants anything to do with it, except for a very small, loud minority that think it's the best thing ever when it's literally like actual visual garbage, and no one wants to play it because it's not fun. Same thing with the Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad is everything. It's literally a wet dream for the cult of woke. It really is. It has everything that they love and talk about and want, and things that they demand are in everything. And gamers said no. In fact, they said no at such an intense degree that Warner Brothers still refuses to release the actual sales of the game. You will never find out how many copies the Suicide Squad sold. You can find out how much they lost, Warner Brothers, but they are never going to tell you how much money they made on it because it's nowhere near even the worst-selling Arkham game. And that's a hard truth that you're going to have to swallow, especially if you like that game. That's why the general audience, by the way, is so powerful, is it can't be controlled by cinema. If we don't like something, we don't go to it. If we don't like a video game, no matter whatever it is they're doing to try to attract us or attract someone else, we're not going to support it. And it's doomed to failure and fizzle and die. Now, when something actually piques our interest, then the general audience shows up in such massive numbers that you make a lot of money, or you sell a lot of games. It's really that simple. Now, with DC has never learned their lesson. Case in point, the Caped Crusader. The Caped Crusader was supposed to be a spiritual successor to Batman the Animated Series. It has orchestrated music. It has an award-winning author that is writing the stories of the episodes. He's well renowned for all of his crime stuff, mysteries, and like thrillers and stuff like that. You know, they had a lot of talented voice actors that they got in it. And then something happened. They had their own sweet baby come in and make changes. They turned police officers into actual blimps. They made sure that every type of person was represented in the show, even when they didn't exist in the 1940s. None of the issues that we're facing today existed in the 1940s. And this is supposed to be a period show. Okay? So that is a major, major problem. They just don't care. Which, I mean, that's probably going to be one of the major arguments with the show, is the show doesn't feel like it takes place in the 40s. Because you're not going to be dealing with actual problems that happen in the 1940s. Like, whether or not it takes place before World War II or after. There was all kinds of repercussions that men and women faced in the 1940s that would be interesting to see told through, you know, the lens of a Batman story, but you're not going to get that because they demanded and expected certain things happen. The Penguin, the female version, is really weird. The actress who plays her, again, is a really good actress, so it's kind of a shame to see that they're going to go that route. It's basically like if Batman the Animated Series was done for the CW, and like the CW Batwoman show. There will be moments where you'll praise the show, and then there'll be moments where you'll hate the show. And I can tell you, honestly, if you sat through an episode of Batman the Animated Series, you would be amazed. The story is going to grip you. The music is just going to send you into that gothic world. And the voice acting is just going to be like the delicious icing on an already tasty cake. And, you know, it would really be nice if DC could learn their lesson and take a cue from Marvel. So I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. I just want to applaud the MCU fans because you guys, you really are just eating so well right now. To the point of, like, actual jealousy from a lifelong DC fan. So let me explain what Marvel did right. Marvel saw and heard and ignored their fandom for years and called their fandom toxic and dangerous and just was set in their ways to do whatever they wanted. And then something happened. They started to lose money. And not just a little money, a lot of money. And then they lost reputation. And then they became the butt of every joke imaginable from even their own fans. And Marvel was just kind of like, you know what? We need to look inside ourselves and see what's going on. Now, while they'll never apologize for the crap that they fed you guys for the past 4 years and the MCU nonsense and the things that they were planning on doing, they're asking to be welcomed back with your open arms. And I think a lot of you are going to do it because it's kind of hard to resist what they have in store for you. Now, we don't know if the Captain America movie coming out is going to be amazing or not. It's gone through so many reshoots that it's possible they removed very heavy SJW message in the first version of the movie. And since then, it's gone through multiple reshoots. So it's possible, you know, they've, like, watered it down a little bit. Even if Captain America is bad, say the Fantastic Four is great, or say the Fantastic Four isn't that good, it doesn't matter. Because the movie that comes after that is going to fix everything. So even if there's bumps in the road, because it always takes time for the road to be smoothed out after, you know, it literally has potholes and cracks in it and it's falling apart and it's not as nice as the road was. Your road is being rebuilt. DC's road is not being rebuilt. It has more potholes and cracks, worse than any Pennsylvania road you could ever think of. And all that happens is somebody comes by and just adds a little patch here and there, but they don't actually fix the entire road. You literally have someone at Marvel, like Kevin Feige, who sees that the road is damaged. The road is broken and the road needs to be fixed. So how are they going to fix the road? For one, they're going to bring back a legend. They're going to bring back the father of the MCU. They brought back Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. One. Then they decided, no, that's not enough. We're going to bring back the writer responsible for Infinity War and Endgame. The one who made the story, you know, really grip your heart. They're back. Then, the last final knockdown punch to the DC fans everywhere was the Russo brothers are back. And they'll be directing the Avengers Doomsday movie that will star Robert Downey Jr., and they'll be directing and producing the Secret Wars, which is going to be this massive Endgame movie again, with all kinds of different characters from all over the Marvel Universe under their very careful and precise direction. So, I hate to say it, DC fans, but that is swish nothing but net. Whereas, DC fans, we're not in the desert. We're in a dark room with DC, and we can actually see where the light is because there's light coming under the door. And we could easily guide DC back to the light, but they're fighting us along the way, and they're pushing us, and they're scratching us, and they're biting us, and they don't want our help because they can find their way through the room without ever opening the door to let the light in. And it's sad, because the Caped Crusader was supposed to be our X-Men 97. It's not going to be. There'll be parts of it that will be, and then there are going to be parts that aren't. And that's just reality. And the sooner you accept reality, that's when the healing begins, more or less. Do I think that the Penguin actress is going to do a bad job as the Penguin? No, I think her performance is going to be fine, but it's a very predictable thing. DC always does this. They always make the headlines by changing a certain character in order to appeal to the crazy people in the US media, because they want the attention, because they believe that everything that they're doing is going to attract a bigger audience than the audience that they want to reject, which is us. They want to get rid of their current fans, and they want to replace them with fans that are easily entertained by no matter what they do. They don't want intelligent fandom. They don't want people that understand the lore of Batman. They don't want people that have been waiting 30 years for a new Batman show. They hate you. They don't want you. You can, see yourself out. They're not making the show for you. The Caped Crusader is not for you. The Caped Crusader was marketed for you, but it wasn't made for you. It was made for the freaks on Twitter. And that's the most blunt and truthful way that I can say it. But I will say this. For those of you that end up liking the show, good for you. For those of you that don't like the show, good for you. You both are entitled to your opinion about it, but that's just how it is. But anyway, now I want to hear from you. How do you feel about changing up the Penguin and basically DC having no idea what they're doing and just basically pulling media stunts like this to get attention and ignoring the voices of the fans and ignoring the wishes of the fans to make something that, in the end, no one is really going to like? That's what I would like to know. Give me your honest opinion about that. I'll be back talking to you guys about some other Batman-related stuff after San Diego Comic-Con. We have to talk about the terrible upcoming solicitations for DC Comics that I can't ignore. So we'll be talking about that. You guys have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for listening to this. This is a very simple video, but it needed to be said. All right, take care, people. And until we meet again, keep it locked here for more news on Batman and video game, TV, movies, and comics when they don't suck. Peace.